Hi everybody, it's Jenny from the Missouri Star Quilt Company. Today's quilt is really fun. This is a take on an old block called the Ribbon Star, and we just want to show you how to do it. It's really so much easier than it looks. Let's take a look at this quilt behind me. So it's beautiful, isn't it? I mean, it's just gorgeous. Looks like you did a lot of work. Of course, you know if I'm teaching it, it's going to be easy. We've got 4 blocks across and 5 blocks down. Makes a gorgeous quilt. This is going to give you a quilt that is about 68 by 82. So it's a pretty good size quilt. To make this quilt, we used 1 roll of colored strips, printed strips, and that's 40 of those. And we used the Buggy Barn Basics for Henry Glass. And I love this fabric. I mean, this is just me. It's homey, it's warm, I love it. Then you're also going to need 1 roll, 40 strips of background fabric, and you can use a roll of solids. We used a roll of 2.5-inch strips of solids. If you're going to use yardage, you're going to need about 3 yards of that, and you'll cut those into strips. And it'll be the same for the color. That's how much is in one of those roll-ups, is about 3 yards. So that gives you a little bit of info on that. You're also going to need 1.5 yards for this outer border out here, and makes a cute little outer border. It's probably about 5.5 inches, and so it just ties it all together and looks good. So let me show you how to make this, because this is super fun. So first you're going to choose 3 strips that have different colors. So I'm going to go with some contrast here, and I'm going to go with these three strips right here. For my center block, this is the block we're talking about right here. Let me show you this block right here. This is the center block right here. We're going to sew it to a background square, build another side, so it's a little bit like a log cabin, and then build these sides as well. So what we're going to do, again, is we've got our 3 strips. We're going to cut a 2.5-inch square off of this one, because that's going to be our center. So let's go ahead and do that. And I kind of leave my strips all, I just kind of randomly do it. So I use my strip without cutting individual pieces. I just use my strip. Now I have my background strip over here, and I cut a 2.5-inch square off of that. So we're going to sew those together. Just like this, 1/4 inch over at the sewing machine. So let's go ahead and do that. All right. And we're going to press this open. This is one of those times where it's really handy to have a little ironing pad right next to you, because you're going to be doing a lot of pressing. And when you have to walk over to the ironing board, it just takes more time. Of course, it'll keep you in shape. So whatever you want to do. Anyway, I like to have a little ironing board right next to me. So then I have my strip here, my long strip. My background strip. I'm going to cut off the selvage right here. And then I'm going to just put this on here with my piece to the top. Now, when I make this quilt, I am an assembly line sewer, so I will do all of my middles at once. I'll go through and I will just cut some random squares, and I'll do, all of these little 2.5-inch squares, I'll do all of them. So this whole strip will be lined with 2.5, all the way down this little unit right here. This whole strip I'll have as many as I can get on there, because I like to do that chain piecing. So I'm just going to sew this one on, because I just want to teach you how to make the block. All right. Now you can rotary cut these apart. You can scissor cut these apart. I'm just going to scissor cut this, and we're going to set our seam and press it back. So that's the one side of our block. Now we're going to add our strips from the other side, and what I like to do is choose the piece that I want to be the star. The star is going to be made by these 2 different colors like this. These are going to be the star. So 1/2 of it is going to be this side, and 1/2 of it is going to be the other side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this, and these pieces that I've chained piece. So I now have however many I did. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to chain piece these again, and I'm going to lay these one after the other on here and sew them down the side and cut them apart. So we're going to put this one, and I want to make sure you saw this. You've got to keep them going the same direction. So my little star square here in the center is always going to be at the top on my strip. So when I add the next one, I'm going to add it looking just like that. Make sure my star square is right at the top. So we're going to go over here and sew this one on. And I hope this makes sense to you, because you're going to be sewing. This will go really fast for you if you sew all your pieces at one time rather than doing one block at a time. You'll sew 4 blocks at a time. All right, now we're going to cut this apart. And again, you can rotary cut or scissor cut. So now I have this piece right here on here. We're going to iron that back real easy. And then we're going to add this to the side. So you're going to be making 4 of these for each block. So now again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this, because I want this fabric on this side right here. So I'm going to put this way. So you can either put your strip on the top or you can put your piece on the top. We're going to go with the strip on the top. And we're going to sew down this side. All right. Let me iron this back for you. All right, so this is the block you're going for. For each star, you're going to make 4 of these. Then, before we put them together, we're going to snowball these 2 corners right here. Just these 2 corners. So I've got some more of my 2.5-inch background blocks right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw the line right here, or I like to just crease it. So you can finger press it like this, where you just push your fingers across and it makes a crease, or you can iron that, whichever one you'd like. And you're going to do 2 of these to each block, just like this, and we'll put them right sides down, 1 on each side, 1 here and 1 here. Alrighty? So let's go to the sewing machine and do that. Now you're going to sew on that line, right on it. I'm going to flip this around and sew right on my other side, making sure it's still lined up on the corner. Mine slipped a little bit. Line it back up. And then we're going to trim this like this and iron those back. Okay, so now you're going to make 4 of these. Now, one of the things I want to point out, let's just recap for a minute. What we did was we sewed a 2.5-inch colored square to another 2.5, added our piece to the side. Then we add the small piece to one side and the small colored piece, then we add the large colored piece, and then we snowball our 2 corners. Now you're going to make 4 of these, and I have 4 of these over here done. One of the things I want you to remember is that because one strip set has your long star side on it and one has your short side on it, you'll be able to swap those strips to make another star, because one of your strips you're going to use less of than the other, and you'll be able to make the other strip the tall side. That sounded completely confusing, but I hope you understood what I meant. We're only, we're using small amounts on each one. So when you go to put these stars together, your white fabrics, your background fabrics, are going to go always to the outside. So then when you put them together like this, you're going to see your star appearing just like this. Isn't that cool? So now what we're going to do is we're going to put these together just like a 4 patch. We're going to line these up like this and stitch them together. And we're going to do the same thing to this bottom row. I'm going to go ahead and bring that over here with me. And flat. A good pressing is like a little miracle worker. So there it is. That's our finished block. Now what we did on this quilt was we went ahead and sashed between the blocks. You can see we have 4 stars here, and we put this sashing row right in between, a little 2.5-inch strip. The 2.5-inch strip of sashing is going to be exactly the same size as your block, like that. So you measure your block, and don't measure all of them. You want, if they're all just a little different, you just decide on a size, measure that, and put them up and make your blocks match to that. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put these together, and we're going to make a row like this, and then put our sashing strip in here. So here's another sashing strip in my pile somewhere. Well, we're just going to pretend and stick this right there. I'll just trim it off. There we go. So this is how you're going to put your rows together, like this. Now in between the rows, you're going to do the same sashing, so the same size as your strip, but it's going to have a little 2.5-inch square on it, like this. So let's lay one of these in here, like that, and we're going to take a little 2.5-inch square here, lay it in there. Now on the quilt behind me, you can see that I mixed those all up. Because you're dealing with strips, you're going to have different pieces left over, and I just went ahead and cut a bunch of random 2.5-inch pieces so that it had that scrappy look to it. I also carried it out into that first border, you'll notice. So we have, again, our sashing strip, our cornerstone, sashing strip, cornerstone. Those are 2.5-inch strips, 2.5-inch blocks, and once you get that all the way around it, you're just going to go ahead and put that 5-inch border on there. And I mean, it just comes together so nice. So I just have to tell you, I love this star. I think this is a fun star. It's a great way to make a star, real easy way to make a star. And we hope you enjoyed this tutorial on the ribbon star from the Missouri Star Quilt Company.